everybody. I'm Captain Mike Bland with LAPD's Media Relations Division. I really appreciate everybody being here for our press conference on Operation Firewall. I want to first bring up Chief Jim McDonald, the Police Chief, Los Angeles Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, and thank you all for being here today with us. Today, alongside First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, District Attorney Nathan Hochman, Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge Eddie Wang, Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes, and other partnering agencies in attendance, we're announcing the results of Operation Firewall, a major enforcement effort led by Los Angeles Regional Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force is also known as ICAC, and that's how we'll be referring to it here today. It's an initiative created by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention to help local, state, and federal agencies investigate Internet-facilitated crimes involving the sexual exploitation of children. Today, the National ICAC network includes 61 coordinated task forces and more than 5,400 participating agencies across the nation. Here in Southern California, the Los Angeles Regional ICAC Task Force, led by the LAPD, serves 5 counties: Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. With 112 law enforcement partnering agencies, it's one of the largest ICAC task forces in the country. Between April 19th and May 3rd of this year, this task force conducted a coordinated multi-agency operation known as Operation Firewall. Operation Firewall was designed with 2 goals in mind: to identify and apprehend predators who use the Internet to exploit children, and to identify and rescue the children that were being harmed. During this operation, investigators conducted proactive undercover work across multiple social media platforms and executed numerous residential search warrants and arrest warrants throughout the 5-county region. These efforts resulted in 341 arrests and 40 children identified and rescued from abuse. The suspects arrested during Operation Firewall were involved in crimes to include the following: production, possession, and distribution of child sexual abuse material, lewd acts with a child, contacting or attempting to meet a minor for lewd purposes, human trafficking, failure to register as a convicted sex offender, and parole and probation violations by registered sex offenders. The scale of these crimes and the exponential increase in reports of online child exploitation is appalling. But the results of this operation demonstrate something equally powerful: the unmatched commitment of the ICAC task force to protect the most vulnerable members of our communities. Despite the rising number of crimes against children, this task force will continue to be the firewall, standing firm between predators and the children they seek to harm. It's important that you see us standing here together today, because those who prey on our children do not stop at city limits or county lines, and neither will we. When the safety of a child is threatened, when a child's dignity is stripped, we will confront that challenge, not as separate agencies, but united by a singular common purpose: the safety of our children. I may be standing before you here today as the Chief of Police, but I'm also a father and a grandfather. And when I, like any of you, hold one of our beautiful children or grandchildren in your arms, there's nothing in this world that you wouldn't do to be able to keep them safe. So when I see adults manipulating, coercing, or exploiting a child, I don't see a case file. I feel what every decent parent or grandparent feels in their soul, and that's the fierce and unyielding instinct to protect them and from those who would steal their innocence or worse. Every child we rescue is someone's son or daughter, and every predator we take off the street is one less threat to all of our children's innocence. So to those who prey upon our children, hear me clearly. This is personal to me and everyone here with me. It's personal to every investigator who's out there in the field doing this important work every day. You may believe you can hide in the shadows, behind computer screens, and false names, but understand this: we and the LAPD and all of our partners here are watching, and we're relentless. We will not give up or stop. Sooner or later, we will find you and ensure you face the full weight of justice. I will never allow those who target children to operate without consequence, not in this city, not in this region, and I speak for others here, not in this nation. What you see standing here today is the best of what public safety looks like. Agencies working together, sharing resources, and refusing to let predators abuse our children. In closing, I want to thank the men and women of all of the agencies represented here today who continue to work tirelessly on these investigations. This is some of the hardest police work that you could possibly get into. Every day they're dealing with stuff that nobody should see, and they're doing it because they want kids to be safe. Their dedication is the reason we're standing here today with tangible results and accountability. And I want to add to my appreciation our media partners for showing up today and encouraging the public to share any information about criminal activity with their local police department. Your partnership makes a giant difference, and thank you for that. Next, I'd like to introduce First U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley. Bill, if you join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you all for being here. I am honored and privileged to be standing with our local law enforcement partners this morning in announcing the results of this critical task force. Crimes against children is one of the top priorities of the Department of Justice, and we will not rest until we secure long convictions for the offenders of these cases. We have prosecutors in our office dedicated to these crimes in our major crime sections, and we work hand in hand with both federal and local law enforcement to bring these cases. I want to highlight a couple of the cases that we have charged federally. Last week, my office obtained a 45-year prison sentence for a 42-year-old individual in the Inland Empire who sexually exploited two girls he met on Instagram. Victorville resident Daniel Navarro deceived his victims by posing as a teenage boy and football player to entice them into having a sexual relationship. He brought one victim from San Luis Obispo to Mexico to engage in illicit sexual activity. Mexican law enforcement ultimately rescued the victim, thankfully, at the Tijuana residence. Another alarming trend that we're seeing is the rise of nihilistic violent extremism, and you guys really have to pay attention to this. This is a major problem we're seeing with younger people. These are groups that form online, and their goal is to entice and target children into producing child sexual abuse material and images of self-harm. They manipulate kids online. They find these kids are vulnerable. They find them in chat rooms. They find them on social media, and then they manipulate them to produce these materials over the internet to them. One such group is 764, whose members are known to the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, and they engage in criminal conduct within the United States and abroad in furtherance of political, social, and religious goals that derive primarily from a hatred of society at large and a desire to bring about its collapse by sowing discord, chaos, destruction, and social instability. You may recall the Palm Springs explosion last year. Those individuals were also a part of this movement. These groups often target children and frequently use social media platforms to share this child sexual abuse material, and they share it online in their various networks. They frequently also blackmail victims into complying with their demands. The type of demands they make vary from self-mutilation to online and in-person sexual acts, harm to animals, sexual exploitation of siblings, acts of violence and threats of violence, suicide, and murder. I want to highlight this case from February of this year. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force arrested Matthew Edward Fisher, an 18-year-old Pennsylvania man law enforcement believes acted consistent with the 764 ideology. And we arrested him on a federal complaint because he traveled with the intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct with a minor. According to the court records, the defendant groomed a 13-year-old girl into sending him sexually explicit material of herself and of herself harming herself online, a pattern of abuse consistent with nihilistic violent extremism. He eventually lured her into running away from home to meet him at a motel in Santa Clarita. Luckily, the same day, we were able to track them down and rescue her from that hotel. Look, one message I have today is the agents and police officers who do these cases are absolute heroes. They are rescuing children from the most horrific types of crimes. But parents are the first line of defense. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Get your kids off the internet. Nothing good comes from it. Most of the exploitation we're seeing today, they are not meeting these people out in the park or on the street. They are meeting your kids and they are grooming them online. And I don't care what platform it is, if there's an ability to communicate with an adult, they're being groomed. So that's the warning I want to get out today. The cases we're announcing today are just a small drop in the bucket. We know that there are multiples of more cases that go undetected that we're constantly looking for, and every single one of these cases is our worst nightmare. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to really commend the men and women of each of these agencies for doing the work that they do. It is not easy. It's not easy on them. It's not easy on our prosecutors, but it's critical work that must be done so we can lock up these individuals for a very long time so they can never hurt another child again. So with that, I want to introduce our distinguished Los Angeles County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman. Thank you, Coach.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the Los Angeles County District Attorney. So this operation has been named Operation Firewall. And when you think of what a firewall should normally be, is that you would have a private network that you would want to protect against hackers. But the reason this is called Operation Firewall is that what you see before me and behind me, and what is involved 30 different law enforcement organizations with hundreds of law enforcement officers, resulting in 341 arrests and 40 rescued children, is the firewall that we are now setting up between these purveyors, these consumers, these creators, these distributors of child sexual pornography and society. That we are setting up between the children and these sick and depraved individuals, the firewall. And this firewall is one that we are going to work on every single day, that we are building stronger and higher and more deeply throughout society, because these creators, these distributors, these consumers of this sick and depraved child pornography think they can operate, as you've heard, in the shadows. They think that the dark web will be part of their protection, but they are wrong. We are able to pursue them all over the entire internet. We are able to find those computers that they're working from. We're able to get to their phones. We're able to get to their apartments. We can execute the search warrants. So they can think that they can hide in the recesses and the darkness of the shadows. But the firewall that we have built and will continue to build will actually protect these children and eventually bring all of these people to justice. I want to emphasize the battle that we are engaged in. This is one of the most difficult but yet most important cyber battles in our society. Often you hear about a cyber battle between the hackers and all the institutions and the computers that the hackers are going after. But this is a different type of cyber battle, because people who both create, consume, and distribute child pornography, they've been doing this for decades. But 50 years ago, it was an image, an actual hard copy photograph, or maybe it was a film. All the world's child pornography would probably fit in this room and maybe 2 rooms like it. About 35 years ago, video came on and was able to expand the ability for child sex pornographers and abusers to make their product more widely known, but that too had limitations. The personal computer came up 10 or so years around that time, again, expanding the network. But now, with the advent of these phones, this phone can access potentially millions of images of child sex abuse pornography. That is the battle we are engaged in. And law enforcement cannot do this battle alone. As Mr. Asali just said, that battle has to be waged by law enforcement, district attorneys' offices, U.S. attorneys' offices, in our neighborhoods and our parents. Because every child who has access to a phone or a computer potentially can be exploited by these child sex abusers. So we have a very distinct message for these child sex abusers, whether you create it, you distribute it, or you consume it, that you are looking at not only being found, but getting years of federal prison or years of state prison. I'll give you an example of one of the individuals that has been recently arrested. His name is Michael Leslie, 35 years old. And what he has been accused of, and a complaint has been filed against him, is for creating and selling videos of himself engaging in sexual conduct, sometimes with other adults, while watching videos of children being abused. He's accused of allegedly profiting from this material tied to this illegal exploitation of children as young as 1 year old. The scope of what the investigators found when they arrested him and searched his computers and his apartment was that they found over 600 different images of children ranging from 1 to 10 years old that were on his computers. That they were able to basically find recordings of sexual content involving children, animals, and various other types of players in those sexual videos that were absolutely disgusting. Our office has charged him with multiple felonies dealing with these images. He is looking at if convicted, it's 7 years in prison. And you just heard for federal time, you'll be looking at decades of prison. So Michael Leslie has been charged, and again, we will prove these charges in a court of law. Right now, they are just charges, and what I am saying is not evidence. But when we prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Michael Leslie committed these despicable crimes, he will serve time in prison. So let me leave you with one, again, very clear and unmistakable message. If you are out there and you are creating and taking advantage of these children, if you are actually then distributing this child sex pornography, if you are even consuming this child sexual abuse pornography, we will hunt you down, we will arrest you, we will prosecute you, and we will punish you. I now have the opportunity of introducing Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge, Eddie Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Hochman. Good morning. My name is Eddie Wong, and I'm the Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security Investigations in Los Angeles and for the state of Nevada. A firewall is a digital security barrier that prevents and protects against harmful and unauthorized access. The law enforcement officers that you see behind you and behind me, the leaders, represent the firewall between our sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, and the child predators that are seeking to exploit them. As an active member of the Los Angeles Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, HSI Los Angeles Special Agents and Criminal Analysts collaborated with their federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to execute Operation Firewall, which included the service of 6 federal search warrants and multiple federal arrests made by HSI Los Angeles and our partners. And when federal charges are filed, that generally leads to longer prison sentences if convicted, which means that these offenders will be removed from your communities and the communities that we serve for longer periods of time. While Operation Firewall highlights the collaborative efforts over a 2-week period of time, you all should know that law enforcement works every day and every night to identify and rescue children at risk and to deliver justice and consequences to the most egregious violators. At HSI Los Angeles, we have prioritized child exploitation investigations. We have moved to increase our staffing levels of special agents dedicated to this mission and have deployed a new strategy to bring more accountability more quickly. And as a result, my office has increased our child exploitation case initiations by 33% in fiscal year 26 to date over the prior fiscal year. Despite our increased activity and increased resources and strong partnerships throughout the region, sadly, we are not going to be able to arrest our way out of this epidemic. In 2025, the Los Angeles ICAC received approximately 87,000 cyber tip leads, and that's on top of the 38,000 from the year prior, in addition to all the other leads and tips that law enforcement intakes on a daily basis. And that's why awareness and prevention are other critical components in the fight against online child exploitation. As a community, we must educate ourselves better, become better educated on the dangers of this persistent threat, so that we can add another layer to this firewall that protects our children. So if you are a parent, educator, community organization, corporation, or nonprofit, please visit www.know, that's K-N-O-W, the number 2, protect.gov to learn more about our fight and to request an iGuardian presentation. In closing, I would like to recognize all of our child exploitation investigators, analysts, prosecutors, and victim service professionals. They see some of the most horrific acts and witness the very worst of humanity daily. But yet they return the next day just to do it all over again, because there is no more noble mission in law enforcement than to protect our most innocent. So as a father, I owe all of you a debt of gratitude. And as a colleague, I am humbled and inspired by your dedication to this very important mission. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the Sheriff of Orange County, Sheriff Don Barnes.
Thank you for everybody being here today, and I want to thank the media especially. Operation Firewall was a very intentional and deliberative operation over a 2-week period. It could not have been successful without the collaboration and cooperation of all the partner agencies that are here with us today. And their commitment remains to locate individuals preying on kids and to save the victims of their actions. Operation Firewall focused on several things: identifying, locating, and arresting criminals targeting the most vulnerable population, and those are our children. During the 2-week operation, the Orange County Sheriff's Department's personnel assigned to this task force made 19 arrests. 10 of those arrests were in collaboration with Homeland Security investigations and intentionally targeted on sting operations with our investigators posing as teenage girls as young as 13 years old. Offenders using chat rooms and online gaming platforms met victims, targeted them, groomed them, and then made arrangements to meet those young girls. As Chief McDonald said, these specific 10 crimes included communicating with minors online or electronically and contacting a minor with intent to commit lewd acts, including intercourse, oral copulation, sodomy, developing child pornography, and in one case, raping them. This kind of criminal activity has real victims. It affects our children, their families, and our communities at large. Some of the data about how this is emerging as a national threat is alarming. In 2025, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported 21.3 million reports containing 62 million images of sexual child abuse material. If you were a parent, you would never walk your child physically into a room and leave them alone with a predator or a pedophile. Yet every day, parents hand their kids an electronic device that gives them digital access into online gaming platforms or digital chat rooms where they are identified, targeted, groomed, to produce either sexual abuse material or luring them to a physical space where they can be exploited and abused. Our parents need to do a better job. I'm not putting the onus on them, but we have rules we have to follow by. We have the Constitution that governs what we can and cannot do. The Fourth Amendment protects what we can and cannot do. My message to the parents, the Fourth Amendment does not apply to you. Get in your kid's stuff. If your kid is alone in their bedroom, go look at what they do, go find out what's on their phone, figure out who they're talking to, find out who their friends are, and more importantly, make sure those people are actually friends, because oftentimes they are not. This operation is not going to stop what we do. We have investigators and detectives that are tenacious in their efforts to locate, track down, and find these people. And if you're a perpetrator of these crimes against children, let me be very clear. We are going to identify you. We're going to locate you. We're going to target you. We are going to find you. We are going to arrest you, and you will be held criminally accountable to the furthest extent of the law. You cannot operate with impunity in the digital space anymore. The broader issue that we're facing now, and one of the emergent threats, is use of generative AI in creating child sexual abuse material. More than 1.5 of the cyber tips that were released or referred include generative AI material to produce child sexual abuse material. It is a trend that's going to probably double every year going forward. I'm proud to have sponsored Senate Bill 1015 with Senator Tony Strickland. That bill specifically makes it a felony for anyone, including another minor, to use a minor to target other minors to develop sexual abuse material, to groom them, to exploit them in any manner, and they could be held accountable just like an adult can. Oftentimes, adults, just like we learned years ago in the criminal street gangs, will put into play another minor to target another minor to produce material, and they will then leverage that against other minors going forward. I want to close by recognizing the great work of this team. This is not easy work. When you look at and see what they need to do every day and the images they need to go through, it takes a mental impact upon our personnel, and we care about their mental health and well-being, and we want to support them in every way possible. But I'm proud of the fact that we have investigators and detectives and our partners to get into this space, this very difficult space, and identifying victims, and more importantly, identifying suspects that we can hold accountable and bring to justice. And hopefully this message, with your help from the media, will resonate not only in our Southern California area, but across the country, and send a message that you cannot hide any longer. We will find you, and we will hold you accountable. Next, I'd like to introduce the Long Beach Chief of Police, Wally Heddish.
Thank you, Sheriff Barnes. I'm Wally Hebish. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Long Beach, and we've heard a lot from all of our speakers today. And as disturbing and troubling as this information is, I want to thank all of you for being here and helping us shed light on this intolerable crime. And I'd really like to thank our regional and federal law enforcement partners. Your commitment to public safety and your dedicated partnership is making a difference. And, you know, the exploitation of children is reprehensible. And partnerships like the ones we share and stopping the victimization of our youngest is extremely important. The Long Beach Police Department's involvement in this operation began with a tip we received, which led to the arrest of a Long Beach resident suspected of lewd acts with a child, as well as manufacturing and possessing child pornography. Through the investigation, our detectives learned that this suspect possessed over 150,000 images of children. This demonstrates the magnitude and scope of the harm caused by crimes like this. It also serves as a reminder of the extremely important work law enforcement does to ensure we're holding individuals accountable for the pain they're causing our communities, and more importantly, the trauma they're inflicting on our children. I want to commend our lead detectives for the Long Beach portion of this operation: Detective Feliciano Reyes, Detective Mary Marshke, Officer Eric Barrich, and Detective Alan Feldman. Their focus and perseverance in working this troubling case has been extremely appreciated. I'd also like to thank our community partners, the Children's Advocacy Center, the Department of Children and Family Services, the multi-agency response team, who assisted with providing wraparound support to the survivors of these unimaginable crimes. And lastly, thank you to the ICAC Task Force and law enforcement personnel for your unwavering commitment to keeping our communities safe. Now I'd like to introduce Los Angeles Police Department Lieutenant Robin Richards from the Juvenile Division.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. I am Lieutenant Robin Richards, and I am the commander for the Los Angeles Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Indeed, it's a pleasure for me to be here this morning, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for the tremendous work that was accomplished during Operation Firewall. In a 2-week period, we as a task force made over 340 arrests, and more importantly, rescued 40 victims from further abuse and restored their voices. First, I would like to thank our Chief and Command Staff, Chief McDonald, for allowing us to do what we do. I would also like to thank all the chiefs of our affiliate partners who dedicate personnel to do this incredible mission. I would also like to recognize all the investigators who must view the horrific content that we encounter. While the work is difficult, I know you do it for the children who have no voice. Your dedication and sacrifices have not gone unnoticed. I would also like to recognize all our civilian personnel who work closely with our investigators. As sworn personnel, we could not do this great work without your commitment and support. I would especially like to recognize San Bernardino County Sheriff Department, who made over 100 arrests during Operation Firewall. Your commitment and dedication are truly remarkable. Clearly, you have raised the bar and set a standard of excellence for all to follow. I would like to recognize our HSI partners, Detective Vargas from Southgate Police Department and Agent Martinez from CDCR. Thank you for your partnership and outstanding work you do. Lastly, thank you to LA ICAC investigators for your dedication and investigative prowess in conducting these investigations. While you carry every burden in conducting this work, the citizens of Los Angeles can take comfort in knowing that the very best investigators are working tirelessly to rescue children, identify and arrest child predators. To our community members, we ask that you engage your children in meaningful conversation and remain aware of what they're doing online. The renowned author Helen Keller once said, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." By working together as law enforcement, parents, educators, and community members, we will be better equipped to protect our children from those who seek to exploit them on the internet. Thank you all for being here.
We can now open up this to a couple questions. Please, questions only on Operation Firewall. Just raise your hand like these two individuals here did, and I'll call on you so we can do that in orderly fashion. Sir.
Yes. I have two questions. How many of these children were returned to the families, and were all of them from California?
I can take that question, sir. I don't have a specific number of the 40 rescued, but many of them were returned to their family. Some were abused by trusted individuals, and from the investigations, we alerted the parents as to what was going on with their children.
Okay, and the second question that I have, what kind of help is provided for the victims or to the families because of the drama that they are suffering right now?
That's a very good question, sir, and I thank you for that question. Whenever we do our operations and we are aware there are children involved, we solicit the help of Department of Children and Family Services. So the Department of Children and Family Services is our first line of defense or support that we provide for the families.
Thank you, sir. Mary?
Yes, this is an open question. What is the platform of choice for these creditors?
So there are several platforms. Just think of the internet, Instagram, Roblox, Fortnite, Google, all the platforms you can think of. These are where the predators are finding our victims.
Okay. And there's
There's one that stands out to me, Discord.
please, I stand up.
There's one that stands out that routinely comes up in our cases, and that's Discord. Discord.
Is there
Your
a reason
kids are
why?
on it.
Is there a reason why?
I can't tell you why. Some platforms are better at detecting and policing what happens on their platforms, and some are not. So I personally have seen an alarming trend in Discord, particularly. But as they said, it doesn't really matter the platform. They're being exploited, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, or it doesn't matter. And parents don't know this, but a lot of the gaming platforms have chat components in them. So you think your kid's just playing a video game, but they're actually talking to strangers online. You really have to know what your kids are doing. And like I forget who said it, you'd never let your kid go into a room with a bunch of strangers. There's no different being online with strangers. So.
And while I have you there, sir,
Yeah.
what is the federal government doing with these platforms to help curb all of this abuse?
Well, HSI, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but HSI is, we have agents who are on all these platforms. We do look and detect for it. And
I'm talking more specifically with working with the platforms themselves.
yes,
So are they helping at all?
so I won't, some are more helpful than others. I'll just say it like that. Okay?
And I do have a
No,
Dad?
just to corroborate, yes, we work with all the platforms. They all have law enforcement representatives that we can reach out to whenever we would like. So I would say, yes, they're very user-friendly whenever most of them, whenever we reach out to them, sir.
very good. And Captain, if you'll indulge me, I do have a question for Agent Warner. You were talking about the tens of thousands of tips you receive. How many of those, or what percentage of those, are credible tips that actually result in some sort of arrest or action?
What I would say is, with the mountain of tips that we get annually, and led by Lieutenant Robert Richards, the investigators do a tremendous job of culling through all of that to find the most egregious of the egregious. It's sometimes looking, at thousands of leads and a needle in a haystack, but just know that our investigators, our analysts, are doing their very best to find those that have access to children, those that are in positions of public trust, those that are actively abusing and producing child exploitation.
If they're using the internet at all, is that automatically a federal crime?
It does, yes. That brings in the affecting interstate commerce.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain.
Yeah, Sabia from Univision. I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned that one of the perpetrators was watching as young as 1 year old, child abuse. The 40 kids that were rescued or identified, what are their age ranges? And at what age are they more of a victim? Is it teenage years or does it matter?
Thank you for your question. There are no specific. We see predators that abuse babies who are months old all the way up to 13, 14, 15, 16. So it runs the gamut. There are terrible people, bad guys online who seeks to exploit our children.
Right, I'm in the front.
Yeah, so as parents, it's very difficult to figure out the balance of what you allow your kids to do online. So much of their social life is involving, online chatting with their friends. When is it safe? How is it safe what is your advice for parents to allow their kids and teach them how to use those tools that they're going to have to use in the digital world while also...
Sorry. Bill O'Reilly said he will not allow his kids on the internet. If that's your choice as a parent, that's your choice. For those of us who allow our kids on the internet, what we say at our training seminars is that don't let the internet be your babysitter. As a parent, you have to be aware, you have to be informed as to what your child is doing, have guardrails. There are telltale signs. If your child is locked away in their room and they're on the internet by themselves and you walked in and they quickly close the monitor, probably something is going on. Engage your child in an open space, hopefully in an open space, so that you can see what your child's doing. Something else we tell parents at our training seminars is, as parents, we can't take the heavy-hand approach anymore. Your child is a victim if this happens. So make sure you're speaking with your child as a victim. Contact law enforcement, contact NETMEC, and try to get your kids some help, because this is in fact happening to your child.
I just want to add, because I was in the legislature before, and this is a big topic. There's a fallacy that your kid has to be online. They do not. In fact, all the evidence shows that they're likely going to be exploited, or they're going to suffer from some mental health issue being on social media. If it's not depression, anxiety, suicide, nothing really good comes out of them being online. But if they need to have a phone, get them a dumb phone that doesn't have internet capabilities. They can chat, text, do other things. But I have to tell you, having been a legislator and now here at the U.S. Attorney's Office, nothing good comes out of your kid being on the internet. Nothing. Not for their mental health, and not for their safety. So there is this fallacy that they have to be online. They do not. Yeah.
You do realize you're talking about this generation, right?
Yes.
Allowed.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 38 years. I ran juvenile programs for many years when I was a younger version of me. And this is not just true about the environment on the internet. It holds true across the gamut. As a parent, you have to get very uncomfortable to have these very crucial, candid conversations. We have discussions with family way too late. I don't ever want to hear, only if I knew what my child was doing. That is way too late to start that conversation. They should be talking about drug trends and fentanyl. They should be talking about how the internet world works that you're wandering into. If you think not giving your kid a phone is going to keep them off the internet, you're naive. They're going to find their way onto the internet in some way through other platforms. And they change. If you focus on one platform, they're going to switch to another platform. They're really good. If you ever seen a kid who gets in trouble, what's the first thing they grab onto? They're never going to give up. They'll give you a kidney, but they'll give up their phone. They will not give up. That's their lifeline. So having crucial, candid, honest, uncomfortable conversations with your kids is the best thing a parent and the moral obligation of parenting to do, how you protect them in this space. If you wait too long, it's too late. They're already operating in this very high-risk environment. Have those very uncomfortable conversations.
I want to be respectful of everybody's schedules here. We're going to take 2 more questions. I'll start with you.
So as opposed to putting the onus squarely on the parents or very largely on the parents, are there any laws or should there be laws that go after these operating systems that allow these kids to play on these little gaming systems and then allow these perverts to sneak in and chat with these kids? Are there any laws or should there be laws that go after these operating systems that allow these sickos to do this?
Okay. Yeah, please.
I always have to have Jim McDonald permission when I'm in his house. Probably one of the biggest challenges we face in our profession, and there are platforms that will work with us, but not always. Section 230 is a federal code that protects the platform owners from the content of their users. Section 230 needs to be revisited. It's decades old. I believe it's obsolete. It needs to be revisited. I'm not saying that we have to hold the Instagrams and all these other platforms individually responsible, but we need to motivate them better to be participants in the safety of their platforms.